Why did Oya and Yemoja switch places? What made Oya uncomfortable with her original assignment? Tune in and find out. Ashe. Bendiciones, everybody. Alafia. So I'm out here in nature, with another Pataki for y'all. If you see it's a little gloomy out, it's because there was just a thunderstorm after a much needed one. It was so hot in Georgia. And I decided that this would be the perfect time to tell this particular Pataki, being the spirits that are a part of it, the main characters of it. And if you hear, there are coyotes in the background of where I'm at. So yeah, if I'm looking around, it's because there's coyotes out here, everything. You see what King Brujo do to come bring y'all this knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So basically, for those who don't know, a Pataki, look, I don't know if y'all can hear that, but that is a coyote. So basically, for those who don't know what a Pataki is a story in Yoruba tradition, usually involving the Orisha, and here to teach us certain lessons about life, certain principles about life, in a way that we can grasp and understand. There are many hidden meanings in the Patakis, and the Patakis can vary from the Ile or the region that it's coming from, but the central point remains the same. So, this Pataki is about how Oya and Yemoja ended up switching the dominions that they reigned over. So, there was a time where the Orisha were occupying the upper echelons of heaven. And as they were occupying, their powers were continuing to grow. And there was starting to bump into each other. Their powers were growing so much that they needed places to actually focus those energies on and have set dominions that they ruled over, right? And that was remedied by Aludumare sending them down to the lower echelons of heaven, which is closer to earth, right? And so in doing that, the Orisha ended up taking various positions, and most of them were happy with the dominions that were assigned to them. Okay, so Aludumare started to assign them different dominions. Now, one Orisha was not particularly happy with her dominion, and that was Oya. So Oya was assigned to rule over the water. But what was happening was her powers were so great that they continued to create turbulent waters. The waters were never peaceful. The waters was always in a state of turmoil and chaos. And so Oya, reigned supreme over the waters for a while. She voiced her opinion, to Aludumare. And what took place was there was a meeting. And at that meeting, they were to reassess their dominions. And Oya at first was hesitant because she didn't want to disrespect Yemoja, because Yemoja was given the dominion of air to rule over. Okay? So Oya did not want to offend Yemoja because Oya wanted to rule over the air, because Oya felt as though her power would be greater and more useful in the air. Oya felt as though she would have the ability to know when to actually make a gentle wind, when to make a tornado, when to make a hurricane. She had the confidence that she would be able to do that job effectively. And so at the meeting, you know, Oya was kind of hesitant because, you know, Yemoja is a great mother. Oya didn't want to disrespect her mother or offend her. And so what took place was Oya still politely brought it up and, you know, was basically like, you know, Mother Yemoja, I don't quite feel comfortable in the water to rule over water. You know, the waters are always violent when I'm in them. I feel like I would work better in the air where you're reigning. And, you know, ironically, Yemoja felt the same way. Yemoja felt as though her powers in the air were not as effective as her powers being in the water. And so, you know, Yemoja ended up switching places, agreeing to switch places with Oya, and then Yemoja went into the waters and Oya went into the skies and started to rule over the air. And it was a beautiful union from that point. And they were both very happy with that decision. The other Orisha were happy with that decision. Aludumare was happy with that decision. Everybody was peaceful and everybody found comfort in where they were at. And so, you know, it's interesting because even to this day, you see the relationship between Oya and Yemoja. Anytime when you look over and you have a storm, right? A hurricane literally is Oya coming together with Yemoja to shake things up, right? So we still kind of see this taking place. And what does this Pataki teach us? This Pataki teaches us to not be afraid to voice where we may feel like we're more useful. In life, sometimes the position that you're at is not the most useful position per se. Maybe you would serve better at another position. And this is just understanding this. Maybe you're in a service job, but you know that you would serve better in another type of job. Well, you have to make the conscious decision to make that change. Just like Oya made that conscious decision. If you are somebody, you know, that struggles in the limelight, but you want to be a music artist, maybe you consider going behind the scenes to be a music writer and write the songs for the artist, right? There are different ways that this scenarios can play out. Everybody is not meant for everything. And that is what Oya teaches us, that although she was mighty, she was powerful, it doesn't take anything from her. It's just that her energy didn't quite fit well inside of the ocean. You see, even to this day, when air forms inside of the ocean, inside of water, what does it do? It turns into a bubble and immediately tries to run itself out of the water, right? It's almost instantaneous. You know, if you breathe out in water, what does the air do? It rushes out of the water as a bubble and pops out of the water and goes into the sky. So this is an interesting thing that we even see today playing out in science, is Oya not being quite comfortable inside of the water. You know, this concept even goes deeper. It plays out in astrology, right? Where sometimes our people that have heavy air placements in their chart may not always feel comfortable around a person that has a very watery chart. Why? Because that watery person can make the air signs think deeper inside of their self, or about a situation that may be too emotionally heavy for the air sign, right? And so the air sign, they might be in a relationship with a watery person and they might want to run up out of there because it's just too deep for them. Like the emotion that you're bringing up is too heavy right now. You know what I'm saying? Usually air signs that work like that, they got watery placements to help balance that out, you know? But we see this over and over again with air not being quite comfortable inside of water, you know? So this plays out across the board. And it was no different with the Orisha. When you seen Oya take the dominion of water, you know, immediately she knew that was not the place for her. So don't be afraid, family. If you find yourself in positions that are not for you, it doesn't fit your lifestyle, it doesn't fit your temperament, it does not fit your personality, you have to find somewhere else that fits that. And then you will find a comfort within the situation. You will find a harmony there. Just like Oya found her harmony in the air. You see? And so with that being said, family, that is the story of how Yemoja changed places with Oya. And, you know, just remember, moving forward, to subscribe to my channel. Make sure you're sharing this content, getting this knowledge out to people, things like that. If you need insight, you know, don't be afraid to book a reading. If you need guidance further, don't be afraid to join the mentorship, because I go deeper into these things. When you see me talking about this stuff like this on YouTube, in the mentorship, I'll even go deeper. Okay? So understand, that's what I do. And I help to guide people to the traditions that fit them. All right? So with that being said, family, you stay safe, you stay growing. Asheo.